A ton has happened in the last 2 chapters, or rather a ton of half things have happened. Oda is in his classic say half sentences, give half information, nothing is really being fully explained, therefore lots of opportunity for theories that will inevitably all be wrong because Oda will do something out of left field. Or like 90% of them will be wrong. Anyway, I'm looking forward to some answers in the next few chapters, but for now we have a lot of questions, so let's discuss. Starting with Kuma in the chapter 1071. I'm not going to talk about things in order. We're talking about the last 2 chapters. Anyway, starting with Kuma. So I and you probably, and most of us, assumed that Kuma was on his way to Egghead Island. That was never confirmed. It was always a possibility that that wasn't what was going on, but like that seemed like what was going on, you know? It wasn't what was going on. Turns out Kuma has now collided with the red line and he's underneath Mary Jo. I mean, I think he was aiming for Mary Joa and he just kind of like, you know, he's broken. He's not working correctly, so he kind of ran out of steam and collided with the wall. There's so many similarities between him and the Iron Giant. Kuma is now being reactivated and reintroduced into the story as an active character at the same time as the Iron Giant is introduced to the story. The Iron Giant attempted to climb up the red wall and get to Mary Joa, attack Mary Joa 200 years ago. Now we have Kuma doing the same. I have to wonder if these things are connected. I mean, when Kuma hit the red line and fell to the ground, crashed to the ground, it really did seem accidental. I mean, that was a big boom. When he crashed to the ground, first thing he did when he stood up was to look up the wall as if he was about to climb it. I don't know what that connection would be. Maybe the same person that was, or people group that was controlling the Iron Giant is controlling Kuma. All the books from the Void Century that were collected during the Buster Call that Robin witnessed and escaped from, all of those books are currently being held on Elbaf. So loosely, there might be a connection to the Giants with all this because they might actually have the ability to control the Iron Giant if it were to get the energy that it needs to be able to get up and start going again. I don't know. I do know that in chapter, I don't remember which chapter it was in. Oh, it was in this one. It was in 1071. In this chapter, Vegapunk did say that, well, when Bonnie asked him the same question that she keeps asking, which is, what, fix my dad? Can you fix my dad? Yes or no? Finally, Vegapunk said, no, I can't, but there's a reason for it. And it's like, okay. I mean, we've kind of all been theorizing already that Kuma, you know, there's a reason for all this, that he surrendered himself to be experimented on, to do all this stuff. Is he a spy? Was he trying to break them down from the inside? Is there something greater that we're still waiting to find? I mean, obviously there's something more that we're all waiting to find out about Kuma, but he did heavily hint that there's a reason he can't fix him. I assume there's a reason he can't fix him, restore his personality now, is because there's still something that he needs to do. Like, I don't know, climb the red line and attack Mary Joa. I know there's some speculation that that Kuma's personality or mental state, mind, has been split, much like Vegapunk's was, and that this Kuma we've been watching for the last few chapters isn't the true Kuma, and the true Kuma is the ally that's hiding on the island. I don't really think that's it, but I have no good reason for it other than, I don't know. I suppose that would make sense if Bonnie was saying, hey, fix my dad, and he was saying, no, I can't, because that's not your dad. Your dad's in hiding. But like, that's a really rude way to word that. Like, just say, that's not your dad. Like, start there. If that's what's going on, it's not a very polite way to string her along in the midst of action. You know you're probably not gonna get your sentence out. Just like, say it as directly as possible. But it is One Piece. We had a few things happen in this chapter as well. The gate opened, which raises a lot of speculation of, is there a traitor in our midst? I know that the obvious answer is Lilith the Bad, which is, you know, I don't think it's Lilith the Bad. If it is one of the personalities, I definitely think it's the intelligent one, the ideas one, the Eureka, I had an idea one. The point is, if it's one of the Vegapunk personalities, I reckon it's probably him, the little fella. Just because the evil character is too obvious, and of the other personalities, I think the highly intelligent one would certainly be an option, because being so analytical and strategic. I'm not really fully sold on the idea that one of Vegapunk's personalities is sabotaging them, but if it is someone, that's my bet. That said, it's also just possible that the person who he called for help is the one that opened up the gates, because when the gates started to open, the people shouting, "Why? Who did that?" It was, first of all, the intelligent one was not shouting that question, which doesn't mean anything. They could be acting or lying. But two, it definitely wasn't the Stella Vegapunk who was shouting that. So, you know, he might understand why. It's because the person who's hiding is in the Iron Giant. I think the person who's hiding is in the Iron Giant. Reason I think that is because, one, as soon as Vegapunk said, "Hey, I have another ally I could call on," as soon as he said that, we cut to the gates opening, or as soon as he called on that person, the gates opened, and then CP0 drew a beeline attention to, what? The ship and the Iron Giant. They could have just focused on the ship. There's really no reason to point out the Iron Giant other than just like, hey, what's that weird big giant robot doing here? But their focus should have been on the ship, and they pointed out both, which draws my eyes to both, which makes me think, I don't know, there's something in that suit of armor. Plus, Vegapunk, when we're first introduced to the Stella, he was half inside the Iron Giant as if he were, I don't know, maybe conversing with someone inside of it, and his teleporting out of it went wrong. I'm just saying, I think whoever it is hiding in there. Which leads me to who's the support character? Who's the person that Vegapunk called on? My first thought, my first guess was Saul, which after I read the chapter and started talking to people, I realized that everybody's first thought was Saul. I mean, it makes sense. We just learned that Saul was still alive, and Vegapunk was not specific about where Saul was in hiding, just that he was in hiding. If he is in the Iron Giant, he's a large fella. He could fit in there. Would he be who you would call to take out the military's most notorious, most capable group of assassins? I mean, I've never seen Saul in action. Maybe he's a powerhouse. Maybe he could take them all out with one swing of his fist. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything to indicate that, but that doesn't mean he hasn't, or that doesn't mean he can't. My next thought was, of course, Toki, because I'm looking for Toki in every nook and cranny of this series, because I'm begging her to come back into relevance, especially since she's from the Void Century, the Iron Giant's from the Void Century. I'm just begging for Toki to come back and show me that she was more than just what she was in Wano. Stussy is another option for sure, because Stussy was a part of Vegapunk's well, I guess that's unconfirmed. When we saw in chapter 1070, when we saw all of Vegapunk's crew, the Mad crew, I don't remember what they were called. I could just look real quick. The Mads. She was a part of the Mads. It's not necessarily confirmed because her face is covered, but it was probably her. She knows all this stuff about Egghead Island. She's been the supplier of information. She was once his teammate, assumedly. She certainly hasn't seemed completely loyal to CP0 in the way she's been divvying out information after it's relevant to them. So for him to say, I have another ally on this island, not necessarily, I don't believe his language was, I have another ally hiding somewhere off to the side. Let me double check. We do have one more ally on the island. So technically, it was never stated that this ally is in hiding. It could easily be Stussy. She could just be, you know, our ally is over there. Not really fighting against us, just standing with the guys who are fighting against us. And the little creature, the one that I'm sus of, the intelligent Vegapunk aberration, says, no, wait, if you're talking about who I think you are, then taking our side would mean being driven out of home and chased by the government. That's, so, you know, that fits Stussy. Stussy could no longer live where she currently lives off this island, and she would then be chased by the government instead of being employed by them. So I think that one makes a lot of sense. Plus, I don't know if it's intentional, plus there was no indicator of gender given in this dialogue. I'm always sus of when that happens because our minds would naturally leap to all the strong men in the series. So if you're intentionally not gendering this vague person, then I'm naturally going to think, okay, what's a strong woman that could potentially be a threat to all these people? You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know who is hiding. Frankly, it could be someone that Oda's gonna bring back from the dead. It could easily be somebody, I mean, it has to be someone who is strong enough to hold off CP0, who would potentially motivate Luffy to actually not leave this island, because we certainly don't want them to leave. A war is coming here, so we would like for them to stay here and or at least a battle is coming here. We'd like for them to stay here and participate in the battle. So they need to stay here, so whoever is about to be revealed, it'd be nice if they motivated Luffy to stick around. And it has to be someone who is in hiding. So if they are believed to be dead, that would be a really good reason. Oda has no problem bringing people back from the dead, even recently. So it could easily just be someone that none of us are thinking of because they're previously dead and they're about to be revealed that they were never actually killed. It's Pedro. I solved it. It's Pedro. What we did get from this little exchange here is we finally got to see Zoro. Zoro and Brook stayed behind on the ship to guard the ship, and then they just weren't in the arc for a while, which upsets me because I love them both so dearly. So Kaku attacks Zoro once again. Zoro wakes up from a nap to defend himself once again. I'm kind of upset that I don't know where Brook is still though, because when we have the overhead shot of the ship, we can see little bitty Zoro sleeping on the deck. Brook wasn't there. So like, where is he? He wasn't in this chapter. I didn't see him in the overhead view of the ship. So where's my Soul King? I'd like to know. Maybe he's hiding in the Iron Giant. With this chapter, we also got to see Gear 5 Luffy in action again, which is so much fun to me. I'm enjoying this version of Luffy so much. I love the Luffy Nado when he turns into a tornado and then completely loses control with his Looney Tune eyes popping out. Oh, it makes me so happy. His Chomp Chomp version, his cloud goggle apparition. He just wanted goggles, and so his clouds turned into goggles, and what? That's amazing! I'm loving hanging out with Gear 5 Luffy so much. I'm looking forward to getting to understand this side of him a little bit more and seeing him in action against... I mean, Lucci is supposed to be a big bad opponent, but I don't feel nervous in this fight. So I'd like to see him in a wider scale fight, which I think is coming. We also got the reveal Vegapunk dropped in 1070 about the devil fruits, that he can recreate Zoan fruits. Zoan fruits. He can't recreate Logia at all at this point. I'm sure he'll resolve that eventually, but he can with Paramecia by creating his own blood. Cool. We got a little bit more information on the Seraphims, which I'm super excited for. The Seraphims are characters that are very fascinating to me, especially now that we know that they can hold either their own powers again, like the Boa does, or someone else's, like the Jinbei does with the Swim fruit. But they're obviously incredibly strong. The more we learn about them, the more lore is going to be attached to them. We're going to be unraveling more lore as we learn more about them. So of course I'm excited to get to know them more. The fact that they're probably only going to get stronger as they age up quickly, assumedly. So as they age up, we're gonna see greater, more powerful things. But also in this chapter, Boa was stomping her foot, little Boa, Seraphim Boa, was stomping her foot and saying, I've just been following orders, which seemed like a really distinct personality attached to her. So that's interesting to me, because in a story about free will and a main character who embodies freedom, one would think that these creatures that were created for servitude and who are forced to follow commands and have no free will and have no choice over whose side they're fighting on and can be turned against their own creator, like all these, one would think that the discussion of free will eventually land on them. So the fact that Boa is showing some sort of personality is interesting to me, because it kind of, Seraphim Boa is showing some personality is interesting to me because it kind of indicates that, yeah, maybe that is the track that we're going down, that the Seraphim will have the opportunity to fight back a little bit, which we've discussed before. I'm still really interested in the idea of the Seraphim and the ones that they're created after having some sort of connection. I think that that would certainly be a good starting point for them to have to explore free will, because let's say the Seraphim Boa is forced to fight the real Boa, but it doesn't want to because there's some sort of kinship there or some sort of connection there. And so this Seraphim Boa might actually start resisting orders. I don't know. I think that we will have to explore free will in these created, controlled, yet somehow still personality-filled beings, eventually. A couple more reveals that got tacked on here at the end of this last chapter. We have the fact that Garp is, he went to collect Helmeppo so that he can go rescue Kobe, and he doesn't care about getting any sort of orders from his higher-ups in order to do this. He's just gonna do it, which fits Garp's personality so well. It does make me think that something has definitely, I feel like what happened with Ace marked him, where now he doesn't care about doing what he's supposed to do according to his position in the military. Now he doesn't care about following orders and doing what he needs to do. Now it's time to just protect his kids. He obviously has a bond with Kobe and Helmeppo, so I don't know. I like to think that that kind of marked him a little bit, that event in time, and now he's changing the way he would respond to a situation like this. I love the prospect of him doing whatever he's about to do. I mean, the matchup of Garp versus Blackbeard is one that I never would have put on the table. Never would have put on the table. And when it was first presented, I kind of had to take a second to think about it, because that's just what, it doesn't work for me in my head. My natural instinct is, oh, okay, it seems like Blackbeard might win that fight, but also Garp is a legend, and he's done a lot, and he has a lot of experience under his belt, and he's kind of been built up to be this really strong person, and we really just don't know anything about him at this point. Garp is such a mystery, so is Blackbeard, but we know even less about Garp and his abilities and how he fights and all that, so I mean, really, he's a wild card. He could do anything. Plus, we still have Kuzan on Blackbeard's side, and I'm still team Kuzan is secretly just spying on Blackbeard. Like, the idea that Kuzan just randomly defected from the military and said, I'm gonna join the bad guy. I just want to. I have no connection to him. I just feel like it. Like, I just don't believe you. So I still think that Kuzan is actually going to turn on Blackbeard. So it's certainly possible that it'll be a Blackbeard versus Garp fight. We'll get more information on Garp through this fight. We'll get more information on how he fights, on what he's able to do, whether it's strictly with Haki or if he has a devil fruit. I don't think he does. It's pretty much confirmed that he doesn't. Maybe we might even get to learn a little bit more about his past through this, and then Kuzan will defect and fight alongside him, and then together they'll push back Blackbeard. They obviously aren't gonna kill Blackbeard, because Luffy still needs to face off against him, but I mean, I don't think Garp will die here. I know a lot of people are saying, oh no, rip Garp, but like, Garp has been a character that has been a relevant piece of the story from the beginning, and we still know nothing about him. So like, I just don't think that now he's dead. You know, we're gonna have to learn more, unless we're going to get, through this fight, we're gonna get a flashback and we're gonna get some backstory, we're gonna see how powerful he is, and then we're gonna kill him. But I just don't think so. We've already killed Ace and Sabo like 3 times. So I just don't think that we're gonna kill Dad too, or Granddad. We're gonna kill Granddad too. I don't know why I just assumed Dragon was out of the picture for a second. And also we found out that Kid is currently on Elbaf, which I'm a little bit bitter about. The Kid got there before me. But I mean, all roads lead to Elbaf, right? Like, Luffy and Usopp's plot were already on a crash course to Elbaf. Now Robin's plot is on a crash course to Elbaf too. It has to happen. Kid's already there. Bully for him, I guess, but I'm going to. Anyway, I didn't talk about Lucci at all in this chapter. He's not very interesting anymore. Let's move on from him and bring everybody else that's coming here. That's all I have to say about these 2 chapters. Very much looking forward to what's to come, because I do think that it's going to be a wild ride, and I'm so excited. Let me know what you thought of them. Let me know what you want to talk about, stuff that I didn't mention, stuff that I did mention and got wrong. Let me know. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the other channel. If you want to watch me read these chapters week to week, I also do live readings of each chapter on my Patreon. It's not very good. I'm a bad theorizer. Chat with me more in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.